The forgotten 1930s book that explains who you really are. In the early 1930s, a quiet preacher named E.W. Kenyon sat down and wrote a small book that would slowly rewire how thousands of readers understood their own identity. And today, we are opening that book back up together. Before we go further, here is the seed Kenyon built his whole teaching on. It comes from 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 4, and it reads, "But let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price." That phrase, the hidden man of the heart, became the title and the heartbeat of Kenyon's little book, because he believed there is a version of you the mirror has never once shown, a version that is not corruptible, not fragile, not for sale, and of great price in the sight of God. And if that is true, then almost everything you were taught to believe about your own worth needs a second look. So let's put words to it right now. Say this with me. I am not what my body reports. I am not what my circumstances shout. I am the hidden man of the heart, and the hidden man is waking up. Let's say it again together. I am not what my body reports. I am not what my circumstances shout. I am the hidden man of the heart, and the hidden man is waking up. And if teaching like this steadies something in you, I would love for you to subscribe so that tomorrow's teaching finds you too. Now, before we open the 6 laws hiding inside Kenyon's little book, type the words "I'm ready" in the comments below. Let that be your own quiet signal that you are done living from the outside in. The first law is, you are a spirit, you have a soul, and you live in a body. Kenyon taught this plainly. He said the body is simply the house, the soul is the mind and the will and the emotions, but the spirit is the real you, the one who touches God and outlasts every headline your body reports. Picture a man opening a letter that says he has lost his job. His hands actually shake. His stomach actually drops. His body is reporting real news and reporting it honestly. But underneath that shaking, there is something that does not shake, something that keeps breathing slow and keeps thinking clearly even while the hands tremble. That something is not his mood, and it is not his nerves. It is the hidden man, quietly unaffected by the very news that just wrecked his afternoon. This is the whole shape of Kenyon's teaching. In one small moment, the house can rattle in a storm. The soul can flood with worry. But the one living inside both of those rooms was never actually the house or the flood. Think about how you talk about your own body. You say, "My hands, my stomach, my tired eyes." You do not say, "I am my hands," because some deep instinct already knows there is a you standing behind all of it, holding the deed. Kenyon simply gave that quiet knowing a name, the hidden man, so when your body reports exhaustion or your emotions report panic, that report is not a verdict on who you are. It is only weather passing through a house you happen to be living in right now. So speak this decree with me. I am a spirit first. My body is only my house. Let's say it once more. I am a spirit first. My body is only my house. The second law is, the hidden man is formed in secret, and unseen growth is still real growth. Kenyon leaned hard on that word hidden. He did not say the visible man of the heart. He said, the hidden one, the one nobody claps for. Think of a seed underground. Nobody throws a parade for a root. Nobody films the quiet hour before dawn when a tree decides to grow another ring. But that hidden hour is the only reason the branches later hold any weight at all. Picture a woman named Elaine who spends 5 quiet minutes every morning before her house wakes up, just sitting, just breathing, just remembering who she actually is underneath the noise of the day ahead. Nobody sees that 5 minutes. Her kids do not see it. Her boss does not see it. It will never show up on a resume or a photograph. For months it feels like nothing is happening at all. Some mornings she almost skips it because it seems so small compared to everything waiting on her calendar. But she keeps showing up to that same quiet chair anyway. And that is exactly the part Kenyon would want you to notice. The feeling of nothing happening is often the exact texture of real growth while it is still underground. So many people wait for applause before they believe their growth counts. They think if nobody saw it, it did not happen. They measure a whole season of their life by what got photographed instead of what got planted. But the part of you that prays when nobody's watching, that keeps a promise when no one would know if you broke it, that forgives someone in private, long before you ever say it out loud, that stays kind on the phone call nobody will ever record. That is the hidden man being formed, quietly, patiently, on a schedule nobody else is invited to see. Think about a man named Walt, who loses his temper less than he used to. Nobody throws him a medal for the argument he did not start. Nobody notices the sentence he swallowed instead of firing back at his brother over the phone. His wife does not even clock it. His coworkers certainly do not. But that swallowed sentence was a root going deeper into soil nobody else can see, and it happens again the next week, and the week after that, small, unnoticed, almost boring in how ordinary it feels. And one day, without warning, that root becomes a branch strong enough to hold real weight, a hard season, a real loss, a real test, and people will look at how steady he seems and call it luck or call it personality. But it was never luck. It was 1,000 hidden mornings nobody clapped for, stacked quietly on top of each other until they became something strong enough to carry him. This is the part Kenyon kept returning to. Growth that happens where no one is watching is not lesser growth. It is often the only kind that lasts, because anything grown only for an audience tends to wither the moment the audience looks away. But a root grown in the dark does not need anyone watching in order to keep going. It simply keeps going. The same way Elaine's 5 minutes kept happening whether or not a single other person on earth ever knew about them, Kenyon would say, heaven was watching every single one of them. So, speak this decree with me. My unseen growth is still growing me. Once more, my unseen growth is still growing me. The third law is, you were recreated, and the old identity is not who you are negotiating with anymore. Kenyon taught what he called identification, the idea that something genuinely new happened at the deepest level of a person, not a fresh coat of paint over the same old wall, but an actual new creation, a different foundation poured underneath the same visible life. He often pointed to a verse in 1 John chapter 4. As he is, so are we in this world. Notice it does not say, as he was, it says, as he is, present tense, right now, not someday, not once you clean yourself up, right now. Kenyon believed most people carry 2 files on themselves at once, an old file full of every failure, every label, every embarrassing thing that ever happened, and a new file that was quietly opened the moment they were recreated. And the tragedy he kept pointing to is that so many people keep pulling out the old file to explain who they are, even though it was already closed. Think about a man who spent years known around town as the one who could not hold a job. He finally gets steady work. He shows up early. He does it for months. And yet the first time a coworker raises their voice at him, his whole body still remembers being that other man. His hands still shake like he is 17 again getting fired. The job changed, the paycheck changed, but for a moment, the old file got pulled back out and treated like current information. Kenyon would say, that is sense knowledge and old memory teaming up against a settled fact. The fact is, the old man is finished, not wounded, not on probation. Finished and the new man is not something being built slowly out of spare parts. The new man already exists complete, and the daily work is simply learning to act like the file that is actually open. Think about it like moving to a new house. The moving truck already left. Your furniture is already inside the new rooms, but some people keep driving back to the old address out of habit. They still park in the old driveway. They still knock on a door that is not theirs anymore. The house did not fail to change hands. They just forgot which house is currently theirs. This happens in the small hours of an ordinary day. An old thought shows up uninvited while you are making coffee or driving to work, and it says you are still the same anxious person, the same broke person, the same person who always messes it up. And here is what Kenyon would want you to notice. The hidden man does not stand there and argue point by point with that voice. The hidden man does not build a legal case to defend itself. The hidden man simply knows better, quietly, the way a person who has actually seen the new deed to a house does not panic when an old rumor claims someone else owns it. So speak this decree with me. The old man is finished. The new man is already here. Once more, the old man is finished. The new man is already here. The fourth law is, there is a difference between sense knowledge and revelation knowledge, and learning to tell them apart changes everything. This was one of Kenyon's favorite distinctions. Sense knowledge is everything your five senses report. What you see, what you feel, what the bank statement says, what the doctor's face looked like, what your bones ache to confirm this morning. Revelation knowledge is what has been declared true, regardless of what the senses currently report. And Kenyon taught that most people live entirely governed by the first kind and have never even met the second kind. Think about a farmer in early spring. The senses report bare dirt, cold ground, nothing visible, no evidence anywhere that anything is coming. But the farmer already knows a harvest is underneath that dirt because a seed went in weeks ago. The farmer is not being delusional. The farmer is simply operating on a knowledge deeper than what the eyes can currently confirm. Or think of a check that has been deposited but has not cleared yet. Sense knowledge says the balance has not changed. Revelation knowledge says the money is already yours. It is simply in transit. Now picture something more ordinary. A woman gets a phone call from a doctor's office, and the voice on the other end sounds cautious, careful. The kind of careful that makes your stomach drop before a single word is even explained. Her senses immediately begin building a whole future out of that one cautious tone. Sleepless nights, worst-case scenarios, a mind racing ahead to funerals that have not happened. That is sense knowledge working exactly the way it was designed to work. Fast, vivid, and entirely built from fragments. But Kenyon taught that underneath that racing mind, there is a hidden man that does not get its information from a tone of voice. It gets its information from what has been declared true. So instead of only asking, "What does this feel like?" she can quietly ask, "What has been said about me underneath all of this?" That second question does not erase the phone call. It simply refuses to let the phone call be the only voice in the room. This is the same skill a courtroom uses. A witness can say anything on the stand. A witness can even be sincere and still be wrong. Sense knowledge is that witness. Loud, immediate, often convincing. But revelation knowledge is the verdict already written before the witness ever opened their mouth. And Kenyon believed the hidden man lives by the verdict, not by the witness. Think also of a man checking the weather app on a morning he has a long drive ahead. The app says storms all afternoon, dark clouds, high winds, and for a moment, his whole day rearranges itself around that forecast. He cancels plans, he braces for the worst. But a forecast is not a fact yet. It is simply sense knowledge dressed up as certainty. Revelation knowledge would be him remembering that forecasts change, that skies clear, that the report is not the same thing as the outcome. This is exactly how Kenyon described the hidden man's relationship to identity. Your senses might report weakness, fear, failure, a slammed door, an empty account, a diagnosis, a cold house, but the hidden man carries a knowing that runs underneath all of that weather. Not denial of the storm, not pretending the clouds are not real, just a settled confidence that the storm is not the final word on the day. And this is where people misunderstand Kenyon the most. They think revelation knowledge means ignoring reality, speaking happy words while the house burns down around you. But that is not what he taught at all. He was blunt about real circumstances. He simply refused to let temporary circumstances write the final verdict on a permanent identity. A person can honestly say, "This bill is overdue," and also say, "I am not a person defined by lack." A person can say, "This pain in my body is real today," and also say, "I am not a person whose whole identity is decided by pain." Both statements live in the same breath. One describes the weather, the other describes the season, and Kenyon taught that the hidden man is trained by constantly choosing which report gets the final say. So when a wave of doubt says, "Look at the evidence," the hidden man learns to answer, "I have deeper evidence than what you can currently see, not louder evidence, not evidence you can photograph, but evidence that does not change when the weather does. So speak this decree with me. My senses report the weather. My spirit knows the season." Once more, my senses report the weather. My spirit knows the season. The fifth law is, the words you speak either build the hidden man or quietly wear it down. Kenyon taught that words are not neutral little sounds we toss around. He saw them as containers, vessels that carry whatever is inside a person out into the open air. And then those same words turn around and feed back into the one who spoke them. This was not poetry to Kenyon. He treated it almost like a law of physics for the inner life. A seed goes into soil, and it becomes what it is. A word goes out of a mouth, and it becomes what it is too. It does not just describe reality, it starts quietly building it. Think of a woman named Ruth, who says every single morning while she is getting ready, "I am just no good with people." At first it is only a sentence, a small complaint, muttered over coffee, but say a sentence enough times, and it stops being a description and starts being an instruction. By the third year of saying it, Ruth does not even test it anymore. She does not walk into a room and wonder if she will connect. She walks in, already narrating her own defeat, before anyone has said a word to her. The hidden man hears that sentence too, morning after morning, and slowly organizes itself around it, like a plant leaning toward the only light it has ever been shown. This is the danger Kenyon kept pointing at. Not that one bad sentence ruins a life, but that a repeated sentence becomes architecture. It builds a room, and eventually a person just lives there without remembering they are the one who built it. Now picture the opposite kind of morning. A man named Daniel, who lost his job on a Tuesday. By every outward measure, he has plenty of reasons to speak fear into his own house. But instead he stands at his kitchen sink and quietly says out loud, "I am provided for. I am not who this letter says I am." Not shouting it, not performing it for anyone, just steady repetition, like a musician running the same scale every single day until the fingers stop thinking and simply know where to go. Nobody applauds Daniel for that sentence. His bank account does not move the moment he says it. But Kenyon would say something deeper than the bank account is being fed. In that moment, the hidden man is being trained, the same way a muscle is trained, not by one dramatic lift, but by showing up to the same small motion again and again until it becomes strength that does not need to be thought about anymore. Kenyon believed confession, meaning simply saying out loud what you know to be true, was one of the primary ways the hidden man gets strengthened day by day, and he was careful to separate this from pretending. This is not about standing in front of a mirror denying that the day was hard. A tired parent can say out loud, "I am running on empty," and that sentence is honest, and it should be spoken. But that same parent can also say, "I am not who my exhaustion says I am," and both sentences can be true at once. One names the weather, the other names the hidden man underneath the weather. The mistake people make is thinking they have to choose only one kind of speech, either raw honesty about the hard day or some hollow, forced positivity. Kenyon's teaching was neither of those. It was simply this: say what is true about your circumstance, and then say what is true about your identity, and let the second sentence outlast the first. Think about how differently a single week goes for two coworkers who both hit the same string of bad luck: a missed deadline, a short-tempered boss, a long commute home in the rain. One of them narrates the whole week using only sense language. One of them, "Everything is falling apart. Nothing ever goes right for me. I always get the short end." By Friday, that person is exhausted in a way that has nothing to do with hours worked. They have spoken themselves into a smaller room all week long. The other coworker faces the same week, names the hard parts honestly, but keeps saying underneath it, "I am steady. I am not shaken by a bad week." By Friday, something in that person is different. Not because the week was easier, it was not, but because their words spent the week building instead of demolishing. This is why Kenyon put such weight on the ordinary, unnoticed sentences a person repeats to themselves in the car, in the mirror, in the quiet seconds before answering the phone. Those sentences are rarely dramatic, but they are constant, and constant beats dramatic every time when it comes to building something. A single motivational moment fades by lunchtime, but a sentence spoken with quiet conviction every single day for a year becomes a room the hidden man can actually live in. So the fifth law is not about magic words or clever phrases. It is about noticing what you are constantly feeding the deepest part of yourself and choosing, sentence by ordinary sentence, to build rather than to tear down. So speak this decree with me: my words are building the hidden man today. Once more, my words are building the hidden man today. The sixth law is, the hidden man was never meant to stay hidden forever. It was meant to grow until it governs how you actually move through an ordinary day. Kenyon taught about what he called dominion. Not dominion over other people, but a settled authority over fear, over panic, over the constant pull to shrink. And this is the law that gathers up everything else we have walked through today and finally puts it to work in real rooms with real stakes. Think about two people walking into the exact same hard meeting, same bad news waiting on the other side of the door, same tense faces around the table. One of them is governed entirely by the room. Their voice shakes because the room shakes. Their shoulders drop because the room dropped. They walked in upright, and they will walk out smaller. The other person feels the very same tension in the air. They are not pretending it is not there. They are not wearing a fake smile or performing calm. But something underneath them simply does not shake with the room. That steadiness is not a personality trait some people are born lucky with, and others are not. Kenyon taught, it is the hidden man finally strong enough to lead instead of hide. Picture a mother sitting in a hospital waiting room. The chairs are hard. The clock is loud. The sense knowledge in that room is screaming worst-case scenarios at her from every direction, and yet she is the calmest person in that hallway, not because she has switched off her feelings, but because something in her has been fed daily for years. Quiet mornings, small honest confessions, private growth nobody clapped for. And now, on the one day it actually matters, that inner reserve is strong enough to carry the weight of the whole room. That is dominion in its most ordinary, unglamorous form. It rarely looks dramatic. It looks like someone who got the bad phone call and still made dinner that night, not from denial, but from a hidden man that has finally grown broad enough across the shoulders. Think of it like a tree that spent 20 quiet years growing roots nobody saw. And then one afternoon a storm comes through the neighborhood and knocks over every shallow tree on the block. But this one tree, the one that did its growing underground long before the storm ever arrived, simply bends and stays standing. The storm did not spare that tree because it was special. It stayed standing because of work done long before the wind ever picked up. That is exactly the picture Kenyon was painting. The hidden man is not a comfort you cash in only during emergencies. It is a daily practice that happens to be ready when the emergency finally shows up uninvited. Now think about how this plays out in something as small as a difficult conversation with a spouse. Sense knowledge says, raise your voice to match theirs. Sense knowledge says, defend yourself immediately. Sense knowledge says, this fight determines everything. But a person whose hidden man has grown strong enough can sit in that same conversation, feel the same sting of the words, and still choose a steady voice instead of a reactive one. Not because the sting disappeared, but because the center of gravity has moved from the argument to something deeper inside them. Kenyon would say this is the whole purpose of everything we have walked through together today. The truth that you are a spirit before you are a body, the hidden growth happening in private, the new identity replacing the old one, the revelation knowledge that outruns the senses, the spoken words that build rather than tear down. All of it exists to grow one single thing, a hidden man strong enough to walk into any room, any diagnosis, any collapsed plan, any long silence from someone you love, and remain a person who is led from the inside rather than thrown around by the outside. This kind of dominion does not arrive in one dramatic afternoon of decision. It happens the way any real strength happens, quietly, repeatedly, mostly unnoticed by anyone but you. Until one ordinary Tuesday you notice the storm did not move you the way it used to move you last year, and you realize the hidden man has been working the whole time. So speak this decree with me: I am led from the hidden man, not thrown by the storm. Once more, I am led from the hidden man, not thrown by the storm. Here is the whole picture. You are a spirit living in a body, not the other way around. The deepest growth in you happens in rooms nobody applauds. You were recreated, and the old identity does not get a vote anymore. Your senses report the weather, but your spirit knows the season. Your words are either building the hidden man or wearing it thin. And all of that growth exists for one purpose: a settled dominion that lets you walk through hard rooms without being governed by them. Kenyon wrote his little book in a decade full of breadlines and fear, and he still insisted that underneath all of it sat a hidden man of great price, unshaken by headlines, unshaken by weather, unshaken by a mirror that only ever shows the outside. So one final time, say this with me: I am not what my body reports. I am not what my circumstances shout. I am the hidden man of the heart, and the hidden man is waking up. And if that is true for you today, then the forgotten little book we opened this morning was never really about the past at all. It was about the hidden man in you finally being seen.